I was born in Aurora, Colorado in 1980. Both my parents and two brothers, we moved to Rapid City when I was probably about 5 years old. Moved into the north side of Rapid City, had a single mom raising three bad boys on her own. It was tough, it was real tough. Went to junior high school, North Junior High, got involved in some gangs and things like that, made very bad choices. I also was very overweight back then. I always had issues with my weight. I went into Central High School with decent grades. The attendance was always the factor with me. Never played any sports. I never really got into sports. I was too busy playing the role of the cool guy and the dope dealer and living large at that. I always had quite a few friends. I always got along well with most of the people. I had a few troubles here and there, a few street fights, things like that. I got into some legal troubles, drinking, pot. I got in trouble with pot. Other than that, school was in a place where I didn't go to learn. I went to hang out and to be with my friends and plan what we were going to do for the weekend. That's what school was just a place for that. I don't even remember attending that many classes. I really don't. My brother was pretty much my main role model for me. He was my father figure in my life. He was a big factor in everything I chose to do, and I looked up to him greatly. He had a lot of so-called respect in Rapid City, and I really admired that a lot, and I wanted that same life. He faced federal indictments in 1996, and he ended up having to do almost 10 years in Leavenworth. And him going away pretty much devastated me. It really did. It devastated my life. It was hard. It was hard because it took away everything. It took away my father figure. It took away my role model. It took away what I believed was my future. And I didn't know where to go from then. That was probably I felt the most lost at that point in my life, to where not knowing which direction I was going to go. At the age of 16, I fathered a child with a girl also my age at 16, and it was real rough on both of us. My grades were failing in school. My attendance was poor. I felt like the only thing I had to do was to get a job and support them. Looking back now, the smartest thing would have been to finish school and keep going. I struggled with weight all through school. Through my youth, through school, I was always overweight and real big. And that's something that always gave me an insecurity. Always, always, always. It was always, I was the fat kid. Always the fat kid. I always had the feeling of not being good enough. I remember even back in grade school, that feeling of not being good enough, that fat kid feeling, and that's a terrible, terrible feeling to have. Always, it really is. December '98, at 18 years of age, I got busted for selling marijuana and was facing a 5-year sentence on that charge. I ended up having to go away for 1 year and 8 months in prison. And in that time, I really wanted to change my life. For me, prison wasn't a negative thing. I tried to turn it into a positive for me and make it into a life-changing experience. I wanted more. I realized, sitting in prison, I realized I wasn't like them guys. I wasn't one of them. I didn't feel like I belonged there. And I wanted something more with my life. I've always felt like I wanted something more. I just didn't know what it was. So I had a lot of time to think. I thought a lot about my life and what I wanted to do and how I wanted to change. I just wasn't sure of how to make them steps happen for that change to take place. Coming out of prison, it was like a brand new beginning for me. I felt fresh, and I felt like it was a new start for me, and I came out with the right attitude, but I didn't have the right tools to live. I was still looking for something. I started breeding and raising dogs, and that became my life for a long time, and even to this day, it's a big part of my life. I bred and raised American Pit Bull Terriers for a number of years, almost going on a decade with these dogs. So I went to shows all over the United States, showed dogs competitively in dog shows, in American Pit Bull Terrier dog shows. Placed a number of dogs, championed 2 of them out. And it gave me a great sense of pride. Them dogs were a bigger impact on my life than most will ever know, than I'll ever really realize. them dogs changed who I was. They gave me a sense of purpose. So I get a call from a buddy of mine talking about he's going to take a fight at this promotion called Ring Wars that was going to take place at what is now Dublin Square, but at the time it was Venue 8, I believe, is what they called it. And it was a bar. So I get this call and I tell my buddy, I'm like, I think I want to do this. They need any more fighters. And it was incredibly hot in this bar. And there were so many people crammed into this little tiny bar that the fire marshals actually showed up and said, one more person walks in this door, we're shutting it down. And walking toward the cage, the nervousness doesn't hit you until you step inside that ring. When you step inside that ring and you look across at your opponent and you know it's about to get really real. Needless to say, the bell dings. 45, I wouldn't even say, it may not have even been 45 seconds. What seemed like forever was probably more like 30 to 45 seconds. I was gassing out already. I mean, this guy was, but by no means in great shape either. But I remember thinking, what did I just sign myself up for? This is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I'm tired, I'm hot, my arms are burning, my arms literally feel like they're gonna fall off of my shoulders. I'm sucking in wind so hard, gasping for air. I won that fight that night. Somehow, some way, we managed to make it through the first round. We were both really gassed out, and he didn't answer the bell for the second round. He didn't want to fight anymore. To this date, that fight has been dubbed one of, if not the worst fight in Ring Wars history. The feeling that I had after winning that fight, even though the fight was won in not such a fantastic fashion, the feeling that I had, it was probably the first time in my life that I was actually truly proud of myself. And I knew from that point on, that's what I wanted to do. I knew that MMA was going to change my life. That little 1-foot trophy that I won on that night in my t-shirt, that little 1-foot trophy still to this day means more than any of the belts that I've ever won, any of the huge trophies that I've won, any of the competitions that I've won. That little 1-foot trophy that I won on my first fight means more to me to this day because it changed my life. I didn't believe in you can't, and because after that first fight I knew I could. I knew I could dig down deep and I could change my life if I wanted to. Dedicating my time, working hard. Even when I would go to the gym, there was nobody who would help me, nobody who would work with me, nobody to show me how to do things. I knew that to change my life, I couldn't do it for anybody else, and I couldn't count on anybody else to do it for me. It was something I had to do. I don't know why. I remember leaving the gym some nights so beat up and so sore and so hurt and thinking, man, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe this isn't what I want to do. But for some reason, the next morning I would get up and I would do it all over again. It gave me a sense of pride. I was proud of myself. And when you become proud of yourself, it changes everything about you. It changes who you are, how you walk, how you carry yourself. I no longer felt like I had to prove anything to anybody because I proved it to myself. So Ring Wars Round 3 comes up in July of 2006. Anyway, I talked to Matt about the fights taking place that night, and I tell him I'm going to run home to grab my shorts and my fighting apparel that I needed for that night. As I pull across the two lanes of traffic, at the last second I realize that it's too late and I'm going to get hit by this truck, and he T-bones me on the driver's side. He pushes me 176 feet. And I woke up and my seat was broken. And the steering wheel, which is normally in front of me, is now to my right side. My legs are squeezed together really tightly. I see a police officer standing there and he says, "Nick, don't move. You've been in a really, really bad car accident." And I look at the cop and I say, "I'm supposed to fight tonight." And he actually giggles a little bit. He actually lets out a chuckle. And he says, "Man, Nick, I don't think you're fighting anybody tonight." And I say to him, "Well, maybe if they just fix me up a little bit, I can at least go watch." I get to the hospital, and I'm in the emergency room, and they're prepping me for surgery. I shattered my left leg, my left knee. My jaw was broken 2 spots. My nose was just mashed. I wake up, my jaw's wired shut. I have cotton balls stuffed into my nasal passages. My leg is in a straight cast. They put a steel plate in my leg with 7 screws and had to rebuild my tibia back up 1.5 inches. That's what really scared me. It's beyond all the pain and everything that I was going through, what really scared me was that I was going to lose this motivation for this sport that I found and I love so much. This new life. It was a new life for me is what it was. I was down to like 220 pounds now. And I was just really, really pale, and I had black bags under my eyes. And as soon as I could get back to the gym, I was back down there. And I was working harder than ever now. I was motivated. I had this new outlook, and I was so motivated. It was a brand new start. It was a brand new life. It was like a new day for me. And I come back, and I fight this fight. And I beat the guy in short order. I rear naked choke him. There was no looking back after that. I got better, I got better, I got better, and I worked my ass off every single day. I heard Rampage Jackson say one time, if it comes easy, it's not worth it. And I truly believe that. If it's easy, then it's not worth it. And I stopped dwelling on the past and started looking for the future. And when I started doing that, I became better as a person. I found a purpose in my life and what I wanted to do with my future. Matt DeWolf approached me with the opportunity. With David Mashad being back in school, he had to vacate the belt, and the belt was up for grabs. I was in the best shape of my life. Coming off of 5 wins in a row, I felt like I was at the top of my game right then. The night of the fight, me and Bobby shook hands prior.
Nick, the Big Boy Pearce!
We come out, we touch gloves. Bobby rushes in for a guillotine right off the bat. I instantly, my bread and butter is obviously ground and pound up against the cage. I instantly push him up against the cage and start separating the throw. I catch Bobby with the left hook right on the chin. And as I catch him with the punch, I see his eyes roll back in his head just a little bit. And I knew he was dazed right then and there. His hand hits the mat, and I knew right then it was finished. Finish the fight right now. So I hit him 3 more times, I believe, and the ref stops the fight, and Bobby's out cold on the mat. I think the point that I realized that I became a champion is when my manager, Sergio Kolteski, rushes in and picks me up off the ground and starts yelling at me, "You're the champion now." And it was the best feeling in the world. I mean, that feeling of accomplishment is incredible. I don't know what would happen if I'd have ever lost my first fight. I don't know if that would have deterred me from the sport or not, because in my mind, even though I won that fight, I knew deep down that I shouldn't have. Why I fight today is because it's who I am. It's who it defines my life, me as a person. I'm a fighter, not just in the cage, but I'm a fighter in life in general. You know, after winning the Ring Wars belt and becoming a pro fighter, it's wherever my path takes me. I'm proud of myself already, and I'm humbled in myself already. So for me, it's wherever the road goes.